report to a cloud.
Yeah, so you can, if you want, you can record to the computer and create a folder, and then
Okay.
you can send it out to everyone, and then you can delete it, you know, from your computer.
Okay.
Get my bag.
All right. The other thing, on Thursday night, we went through the basic tests, and there were, towards the end, we were sort of speeding through, making sure we get the answers because we are getting close to 2 hours on that. And for our Zoom that was originally scheduled for an hour and a half. And so there were 3 questions that we just zoomed through real quick. And I said I would go back and cover those in more detail because I thought they were very important. So those are the questions I'm going to share now. So if you were not able to attend on Thursday, I will have another session to cover the basic test, which is the 75 questions that all officials must submit. Okay. And what I have done is included the question along with the rule that supports the question here in this Word document. Can everybody see the document that I'm sharing?
I can.
Yes, I see it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, this question was one of the true-false questions. And it was, in open men and women combined event competition, the winner shall be the competitor who has scored the highest total number of points. If 2 or more athletes achieve an equal number of points in the competition, the first tiebreaker will be determined which athlete placed better in more individual events. And the test provides us the rule 200.12. And this is, I just copied and pasted directly from the rule book. And the rule 200.12, it states the winner shall be the competitor who has scored the highest total number of points. If 2 or more athletes achieve an equal number of points.
I was trying to find that rule number. I was trying to find them.
Yeah, it's rule number
rule number for the about the electronic measurement device.
Oh, sit.
She need to mute her. She need to mute her mic.
Took care of it. Okay. So I'm going back. If 2 or more athletes achieve an equal number of points for any place in the competition, it shall be a tie. So there's not supposed to be a rule breaker. So that's the reason why the answer was false. And also, I included rule 332.4, which covers the master exceptions. And here under point 4B, it tells you how you're supposed to break a tie if there's a master. But the question number 56 on the basic test was asking about the open men and women competition. So that was the answer to that question. Are there any questions on number 56? Okay, one of the other ones that when I was going through the test, I thought was very important, something that I learned different, was number 64. That's another one I highlighted. And it was the height of the barriers in the steeplechase for men is 0.914 meters or 91.4 centimeters or 36 inches. And for the women, it was supposed to be 0.762 meters, and that converts to 30 inches. And it's the same height for each group that runs the 400 hurdles. And that answer is true. And I provided those rules, and I will send this information out via email where I had looked up these rules so everybody have it. But here's the rules that support the height for the hurdles as well as the steeplechase. It states how they're the same. No, steeplechase and the hurdles the same. And the last one was 65. This is the one that involves a relay. The term scratch line used in this question about the first zone in the 4x100 refers to the line 100 meters from the start line. So if we can picture in our mind a track, and we are looking at the 4x1, we know that on that first curve, you have the international zone. It's going to be a triangle or hash or something. But that's not the scratch line they're referring to. Because now with the new rule, the exchange zone is 30 meters. So it starts at that international zone, and the beginning of the exchange zone is 10 meters away. And that's where you're normally going to have another triangle, a different color track or something, some kind of indication. That once again, that's really putting you 90 meters. In the middle of that exchange zone is where your 100 meters is. So when they talk about the scratch line, they're referring to where it's exactly 100 meters from the start. So let's go on with the question. It says, in the 4x1 relay, each takeoff zone shall be 30 meters long, of which the scratch line is 20 meters from the start of the zone. For the first zone in the 4x1, the zone will begin 80 meters from the start line and end 110 meters from the start. And that answer is true. If I can spell true. That is true. And this is a rule where it explains that, which is rule 170.3. And it talks about the exchange zones. Does anybody have any questions in regards to those exchange zones? Okay. All right. Well, now we're going to move from this. Let me save it for now. And I'm going to go in and pull up.
Y'all want to have a snowball fight? Indoor? No.
All right. I want to start with the situational questions. I
No.
think everybody should have a copy of the test.
Donna, mute your phone.
Everybody need to move it.
True.
Hold on. Participant.
Stacy, can you mute everybody's phones?
I can.
Huh? Yeah.
Okay. I think everybody should be muted now. All right, I'm going to share the National Master's Test. And does everybody have the situational, advanced situational questions? I think I should have it via email. Okay. Well, we're going to start with question number 1. And I believe, well, let me get my copy. I think we have Mr. Dexter was going to provide us number 1. I see that you're on. Are you ready? Dexter, Mr. Finster. Hello? Let's see.
He's still muted.
He's still muted. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I probably have to go in here and unmute him. Where did you go? Fix. There you go.
What about now?
All right, I can hear you now. Good job.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. It said the host needed me to unmute, so I unmuted. Okay, question number 1 concerns umpiring. And you are the head umpire at a meet. Have 6 umpires in yourself. Okay, what general instructions would you give those umpires? Well, the general instructions that I would give them is number 1, making sure that they understand the violations and what the violations would be. And I don't go over them. I ask them, I give them the general information, and I give them the opportunity to ask me questions if they are unclear about something. But one of the things that you got to do is go over in a situation, especially in the track. Like for instance, if you have a field event going like long jump and triple jump, and the track is torn up, okay, how are you going to do that and keep, the running circle races going at the same time with the triple jump? So those kinds of questions. It asks, where would you place them on a 4x1 relay? Stacey's already said, and we know that the 4x1 relay is now 30 meters instead of 20 meters. So, you used to have an international mark, which was a small triangle or some kind of dash mark. And then it was gold, that's what color 4x1 is. And then the solid triangle facing away from you was the beginning, and the big triangle facing towards you at the end was the end. So that's no longer true now. Now what they've done is just made it 30 meters. So really what we're concerned with is the beginning of the zone and the end of the zone, which is going to be just inside the acceleration, and make sure that they understand that they got to have it before they get beyond the zone. They'll ask you a lot of times, where can I stand? It's more or less telling them where they can't stand, that they can't step outside the zone, or they can't go back any farther than this, and they need to have a baton before they get beyond the big triangle up there. So I would have umpires placed at the beginning. Now you say 6, so you put 2 at each zone. Sometimes we get help from, like, they'll stop. For instance, it'll be a downtime, or if not a downtime, they might hold up a pole vote event, or a high jump event, and get those officials to come over and help. Well, if I got 2 people that umpire at zone 1, which would be the first exchange, and I got 2 of my people that umpire at zone 2, which would be the second exchange zone, and then I got 2 more of my people, at exchange zone 3, which would be the last one. Then what I would do, instead of having both of my people stand at the end, or both of them stand at the beginning, I would have one of them stand at the beginning and one of them stand at the end, along with whatever people we might get to help. Another thing, a good tip is this: make sure they don't step backwards. A lot of times they get close to that triangle and they don't get themselves in the margin forever. Just make sure they know that if you step back, because there's no longer acceleration. What that does not put somebody that does pole vault or high jump in a critical position. Also, by having 4 people at each exchange zone, one of the things you're able to do The 4x1 relay goes fairly quickly. So you get one person on the inside looking at lanes 1 through 4. You get one person on the outside at the beginning looking at lanes 5 through 8. And you do the same thing at the end of the exchange zone. Okay, 400 hurdles. All right, 400 intermediate hurdles. What I try to do is get one person to stand, you know, in between the first and second hurdle. Okay, and I make sure that they understand that, you know, we're looking for people that lead leg and trail leg need to go over the hurdle. Okay, they can't go around the hurdle. They can't push the hurdle down with their hand intentionally, anything like that. Make sure they understand that. Okay, and I try to get one person to take care of hurdles 1 and 2. I get another person to take care of hurdles 3 and 4. Get another person to be responsible for 5 and 6. The other critical thing about hurdles that we always run into in umpiring is that what happens is you got a hurdle crew, and the hurdle crew is responsible for setting the hurdles on the track. I try to tell umpires, don't assume that they're at the right height, because most times we go females first and then males. Okay, so like I said, females is one height and males is a different height. Okay, make sure you as an umpire, make sure that the height is right. And what we should do is hold up a yellow flag. You know, if the first person has checked the first 2 flights of hurdles, hold up a yellow flag. When they finish, hold up a white one. And we go to hurdles 3 and 4, do the same thing. And then once we all have an all clear, all white, then I make sure the starters know before they start the race. Okay? So that's how we do that. Usually the toughest part of hurdles and relays and stuff like that, umpiring, is usually in the turns. That's where something most likely to happen. You know, on the straightaway, you know, unless they impede somebody, okay, they can fall down and get back up and finish the race. Okay, they got to finish in their lane and they can't impede anybody, and they can't knock the hurdle over with their hand, and they can't go up under the hurdle, and they can't go around the hurdle. So a lot of times you'll see a person that might hit a hurdle and fall and get up and get to the next hurdle and steps off and push down with their hand. So that's an automatic disqualification on hurdles. Okay, in the 1500 meter race, okay, we're gonna have somebody in the turn at the beginning of the turn, you know, turn 1, which means you're leaving from the start and you're going by way the 4x100 meter relay is. Okay, so got somebody in turn 1, got somebody in the middle of the turn, and I have somebody as they come out of the turn. Now, the person that sees them coming out of the turn can also see them coming down the straightaway. Now, on the other end of the track, I got somebody in turn, the turn about 200 meters. Then I have somebody in the middle of the turn. And then I have somebody in the turn coming off toward the 400 meter, whereas the 100, usually on the outdoor track, is the 100 start, 100 and 110 hurdle start, and 100 meter dash start. They can also see. So you got 3 set of eyes really looking on the turn, and the people that's on the turns looking down the straightaway can see them as well. You can walk out on the track and see what's going on. And usually, unless they impede somebody or something like that. Now, one of the things that we do have issues with sometimes is what people don't understand is, you know, impeding. And when you impede somebody, okay, you interfere with their running capacity. So a lot of times people think of impeding is somebody crossing over in front of you and cutting your steps off. Impeding can also be, you know how people's feet come up in the back? And if I'm behind you, if I get close enough for your feet to hit me and it causes you to trip or fall, then I'm impeding you because that's your space. You got a right to that space because you were there first. Any questions?
Yeah.
What rule did you use?
Wait a minute, I gotta look at my thing. I got it written down here.
While you're looking for that, Dexter, I got a question. Like when you was giving your turns and everything, would it be safe to say that you may have an umpire at every 100 yards? Because that's almost like one.
Well, not necessarily. More so, in other words, you can't say that, okay? But more so, the turns where your spot would be, nobody specifically would not be there, is the straightaways. But like I said, if you're going into the straightaway, or you're coming out of straightaway. Whatever umpires there can see it as well.
Okay, thank you.
Wait a minute, I gotta go get my phone to get this.
Rule number 125.
Yeah, I got you. Yes. Rule 125.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Fred. I'm trying to do the laptop and the phone. I got a couple devices going here. Anything else anybody not clear on? Let me say this. It is important to know that there is a chain of a process or procedure to it, that a chain of command is. The umpire should be aware of any violation or infraction, and they should write it up as well. Okay, then what I do, that they see it, then it comes to me. I see it, make sure it's clear and precise, and I sign off on it. Then when I get it, it goes to the referee. The referee has to sign off on it, and it goes to the people that's doing the timing, because they have to make the adjustment as to whether somebody was disqualified or not before, hopefully it's before results are printed. And as we know now, we're in the new world of technology, so people get stuff pretty quick. They go online and stuff, and when races are entered and stuff, and they see what's happening. And they'll come back and say, well, you know, I got my kid finished this place and I don't see his name. So it's really important to inform them as soon as possible.
Thank you. All right, Kevin Vaughn. We have, oops, I need to go to number 2. We have you covering number 2, the throws.
Okay, the question is, you are the head official for one of the throwing events and need to set up the area venue, or if already set up, check that it is ready for competition. You can pick 4 of the throwing events, and what I chose was the shot put. And before getting there, I will have a meeting with the crew that's working on at that venue or that event. I will have a meeting with them. I will assign them their tasks. Then we'll take a walkthrough of the event, of the competition area, making sure that they meet all safety requirements. You want to make sure that the lines, the sector lines are chalked in, or however they got them. They may have them roped in, or they may have them chalked in, or they may have a tape running down the sector lines, making sure they're in place. I will also check each meter line, make sure that they're correct as well. If you have the meter reading boxes that are on each side of the distances, I will make sure they're correct by having one of the officials at the toe board, making sure that it's secured down and stretch the tape out, making sure each line is correct. And then making sure that spectators know where to sit and that they're not impeding or getting in the way of the athletes that are coming in. I will make sure I have my coordinator is make sure they're assigned, that they know the rules and know how to call each athlete up before they come into the venue. And once the implements get there, make sure the inspectors bring all the implements, make sure that they meet standard or requirements. Any ones that are not authorized, making sure they don't get it into the throwing apparatus, the devices, making sure they're not there. Athletes, I would tell the athletes where they're going to sit. So I will make sure that they're sitting in an area where they can hear the coordinator and they have eyes on everything that's going on. And I would check the circle, make sure the circle is correct, make sure it's swept out, that it's free from any debris that can cause harm to the athlete. Make sure the athletes are clear, make sure the crew is clear about how the athletes are going to enter and exit out of the circle. So I'll make sure they're familiar with the rules as well. of the shot put event. Make sure the spectators know where to sit. Make sure my timer knows where to sit. Make sure everybody has a clear path on the safety and the well-being of the athletes. And once that is done, I will make sure that field referee is clear on a start time and the end time. Well, start time where the event is supposed to start, and make sure if we have electronics, any electronic devices that's going to be out for measuring, make sure they're working properly before the event is to start. Are there any questions?
Wonderful. Thank you, Calvin. Number 3, we have Tyrone is going to provide us the answer regarding number 3, and it's on lap score.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. You're the only lap scorer for the Masters 3000 involving 18 athletes, men and women in multiple age groups. What steps would you take to get ready, and how would you attempt to keep an accurate account of what was going on during the race? What information would you communicate to the athletes, particularly the lead in each group and the ones that are more than a lap behind? How would you handle ringing the bell indicating 1 lap to go? All right, to go over the first one, first of all, when I get there, I want to make sure and check the track and make sure that it is indoor. Say, for instance, it is 200, that it is going to be 15 laps. Give me a moment. This is my first time, so I got my stuff together. First of all, if it's just myself, I'm taking it responsible for the laps. I'm not gonna be responsible for the time as well. So what I'm gonna make sure is when the runners come up to me that they have both numbers on their chest and on their hips. I'm gonna check with the clerk, make sure I get that information, and write down on my score sheet, making sure that I have the numbers. Also write down some descriptive information about particular runners. Let's say, for instance, give you an example, runner number 6 had blonde hair with a white top with red shorts, just to record the initial sequence on the hips and the sheet and the highlights of the start. If time permits, like I said, make a mental note, write a description about the runner. What information would I communicate with the athletes, particularly the lead in each? Not really. I don't think you can really determine them by group while they're running. Just, by, just to the lead guy who's running, letting them know, keeping the track of the laps. Everybody letting them know what laps they're on. You got to change the lap counter with the lead guy once they come on the straightaway. Call out the number on the hips as early as possible as they head down the straightaway to maximize the number of athletes you can score. So on my score sheet, as they're coming around on the first lap, I want to try to get as many from the first group and then the back group. And the ones that I don't get, try to pick up on the next lap. So just each lap, just write down what runner is coming by and what order they're in. If somebody gets lap, you want to circle that person, that number. Also, you want to identify if somebody has dropped out of the race. What else? Particularly scanning through. And again, on every lap, change the lap counter when the leader reaches the head of the final stretch, so the straightaway, so you don't have to change it twice. For any runner who has been lapped, you must call out their lap number, the number of laps they have remaining. Also, you must display it with the appropriate hand number. Always know who's in first place and who's in last place. Do not guess if you are not unsure of a number. Wait and get a record of the complete order of athletes as subsequent laps. After the field passes, count the runners as best as you can to confirm the number of starters. Let's see what else. Because that won't. And jump in if I'm missing something. Somebody let me know. But that one was, being by yourself and having to count 18 athletes. So, like I said, you want to before the race, make sure you get a count of how many athletes will be running. Make sure you check the hip numbers, the numbers of sequence. It says this allows you to prepare your lap scoring sheet and helps to identify dropouts. Get that from the clerk. Coordinate with the clerk regarding issues of hip numbers. Ensure runners have a number on both sides of their chest. Also, their hips are clearly visible. And that was Rule 131. And again, how would you handle ringing the bell? Indicate, of course, that lead runner, you have to ring the bell as he's coming down the straightaway, but also remind and tell everybody else as they're passing what lap they're on, what lap number they're on, and you got to use your hands to identify that. Anybody any questions or want to add to that? I didn't answer something.
No, I just want to let you know, Tyrone, this is Dexter Fisher speaking. I just want to let you know, umpires are involved in that as well. And two things that you said, like you said, if somebody drop out of the race, if we got an umpire stationed around the track, the athlete had to leave the track somewhere. If you started with 18 and finished with 15, then you know you lost 3 somewhere. And some umpires should have seen somebody walk off the track or leave the track or drop out of the race and go to the infield at some point. So umpires can help with that as well. Also, what I try to do in when I see races where they have multiple laps like this here, I always keep an eye on who is the first runner and who the last runner is. And most of them don't do that, but I try to get them to do it.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And
so in other
also,
words, you're not in it all alone, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say as well. Even though it states that you're the only lap counter, usually the starters would jump in and help out and assist sometimes as well. And I heard you state that once you start seeing the runner come down the straightaway, you ring the bell, but you want to ring that bell soon as they cross that final line.
Okay. Wait till you cross the final line. Okay.
Or the final lap.
Well, on that final lap, right? I know what you meant. Yes, ma'am. So I'm trying to think, but
you did good.
Okay.
You did good.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I had enough information. That's my first one. So
You
okay.
did.
You did. Thank you. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Number 4, we have Dexter again, and this is on umpires.
Yes, you are head umpire responsible for putting hurdles on the track or checking that the hurdles are correctly placed and set up properly. You are also responsible for the steeplechase hurdle jumps and the water jump. What instructions would you give to your umpires and anyone else assisting you? Well, usually what happens in the with hurdles, they have marks. It's a certain color for females and it's a certain color for males. And usually run the females first. So the hurdles are really already preset at the height. But it's possible that 1 or 2 might not be set right. But it's our responsibility to help whoever the hurdle crew is on getting the hurdle set up and making sure they set up properly. And I make sure that they're aware of that and make sure they're on the right mark, whether we're running males first or females. Most of the time it's females. Every now and then they do try to switch it to males. On the steeplechase, you usually have a crew. What's really, really important is that on the first lap of the steeplechase, I think they start back on at the 200-meter mark or just before that. The first lap is they don't go into the waterfall. So usually the track is torn up leading into the waterfall, and the rail has been removed leading from the waterfall. So we have that coned off, and I usually have officials standing there making sure that they go straight around. Soon as the last runner passes, then we move the cones and set them up. So after they go over each barrier, when they come around, they know to go through the waterfall. Another thing too is unlike hurdling, you can't touch, the barrier with your hand. They can in steeplechase. When they go over the barrel, they can touch it with their hand. It just says they have to go over the barrel and they have to go through the water if it's a waterfall. And like I said, the barrier height for men is like 36 inches and women is 30 inches. And those things are pretty difficult sometimes because they're outside in the weather, and sometimes it takes a rubber mallet or sometimes to move more adjustable. They don't necessarily slide. But like I said, we hold flags up and make sure, that all of them are ready before they start the race and they get slid into place. But everybody is responsible for being where they can see a barrier to make sure that nobody goes around it, that everybody goes over it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And that's done, and I try to be ahead of the game by finding out what races on what day and what's coming up, and I try to be a race or two ahead. So hurdles are usually preset already at the height and by the mark that they go to, and we just helping or assisting the hurdle crew to put them on. But ultimately, the responsibility of making sure that if it's a male race, that the hurdles are at the right height, or if it's a female racing in the hurdles, they're at the right height.
Okay. So the correct place and height.
And believe it or not, I've had somebody tell me, I've had an umpire at a meeting, I ain't gonna call no names, was supposed to be an umpire, and we ran a race, and the hurdle was not set up at the right height in one of the lanes. And he said, when I asked him, why didn't you say something? He said that, man, that ain't my job. That's the hurdle crew job. He didn't understand that it was his responsibility to check and verify behind the hurdle crew that the hurdle was at the right height.
That's right.
Oh,
'Cause
Freddie
when
wanted.
it's wrong, we
No,
all
it wasn't
say.
Freddie.
Thank you. Clyde,
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you. We have you up for number 5.
Okay.
To read the question.
I have the governing rule as 180.17C in the absence of a referee.
Mm-hmm.
It said, how would you restart the event in this situation? I would give all competitors an agreed upon amount of warm-up time and start the competition from the point that was left off. And the second part of the question is, would you handle the situation differently if this happened during the first height? In my opinion, I would not. I would still give all the competitors an equal amount of warm-up time, agreed upon warm-up time. And I said, hold on, I wrote down some notes here too. 180.17C says, if an event is delayed for an hour or more due to circumstances that fall outside the normal course of competition, all competitors shall be allowed a practice period, the length of which shall be determined by the referee. In the absence of the referee, then I think it falls on the head official to make that determination. And my determination would be to give everyone an equal amount of time, or get a set amount of time to warm up. And going back to the rule, the governing rule, In the absence of the referee, the governing rule would have been 180.1. The referee shall have the power to change the time or location of event if it was delayed. So that was my answer to number 5. I can't hear you.
Can't hear me, sorry. On B, would you handle the situation differently if it happens during first height progression?
If it happened during the first height progression and there were also 5 athletes who have not yet entered the competition, I would handle it just as a normal beginning of the event. That's how I would handle it. If it handled during first height progression, and that was, I had to make a decision. I would say no, I wouldn't handle it any different. If it's
just like the beginning of the event, as if you hadn't started out.
That's what I determined. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. All right. We have Miss Wanda for number 6. Unmute yourself, Wanda. Please. Thank you.
Adjust your questions, Miss Stacy.
Ooh, yes, Stacy, you can put it up because I did shorthand on my notes. So I don't know if the question I have on my paper is the correct question. Okay, so this is the clerk of the clerk and call room. You are the chief clerk of course or call room officer. How would you handle the following? A, the 200 meter is reseated due to many scratches. We see this all the time. So we know that all depends on how many heats it is. And if there's one runner in their heat, we're most definitely going to put that runner in another heat. So he or she doesn't have to run by themselves. And if there's 2, again, all depends on how many heats we have. We'll let 2 people run, but if it's only one person, no, we will not let one person run by themselves. We will reseed him or her. B, an athlete shows up without his or her bib number. Seen it happen a lot of times. If the athlete know their bib number, we'll just go ahead and write that number on one of the extra bibs that we have, or we have in the past when I was clerking, make them pay for the bib. Either way. C, an athlete shows up to compete in a running event and his or her shoe has 11 spikes. Well, I had to look that one up, and per rule 143 3B, they can have up to 11 spikes. It's okay. D, an athlete in youth shows up for the javelin with a shoe that has more than 11 spikes. And that's rule 302.5F. The number of spikes in or cleats on shoes for the javelin shall not be limited where the runway has a natural or asphalt type surface.
So it's unlimited. They can have as many spikes on there as they want.
Exactly. Per rule 302.5F.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unlimited. For the javelin.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful.
Learning something.
Me too.
Thank you so much. All right, I don't know. Let me see if Tony's here. I know he said he would probably wouldn't be back until 7:30.
Hey, this is Tony.
Okay, good.
I'm going off of memory. This funeral kind of threw me off today, so let me get the question here. All right, so you are the head official in the open field event. The athlete is not present when his or her attempt would normally occur. Now, of course, there's a lot of different scenarios. We've all seen this rule. One, the question to me was kind of, vague. I wasn't sure exactly if the let's say the athlete never checked in, before the event, started, or the athlete did check in and he did check out in order to participate in, let's say, a track event. So of course, I think it'd be a little bit better if I kind of
Can't hear you, Tony.
real quick, y'all. If you give me just a second.
All right, Tony, you're fading.
Y'all hear me?
Yeah, you were strong before, and now it's kind of weak.
Hold on, I can't hear you. Hold on. Oh boy, what happened? Hold on. All right, can y'all hear me now?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can hear you now.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that. All right, so the first I went to, of course, was in field events, which would be, that was up under the rule, I think it was 183, I believe. Or was it 180? I think it was 180.
Yeah, it's 180 is
And
general
so,
field events.
yeah, hold on for a second. All right, so, well, I tell you, when you're working and running, boy, I tell you, it don't help you at all here, y'all. So excuse me just a second. Oh man, I just had it. What did I do with it? I just had it. Give me a second. I had it. Shoot, come on, computer. Stacy, my computer. Go to question 10 and I'm gonna come right back to you. My computer just froze. Give me a second.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
gonna hold y'all
skip
up.
7 for now. And we'll go
Yeah.
on to, we can move on to number 8. And Tony, whenever we get to you for your second question, we can cover 7 at that point, okay?
That's fine. All right, thanks.
Okay. We have Ms. Wanda for question number 8.
Can you slide it up some, Stacy, for me?
Oh, sure.
Again, a bunch of questions I have here. So, you are the head starter. How would you handle the following situations? A, in the 1500 meter run, 35 meters after the start, an official inadvertently steps into lane 1, and it is not clear whether or not this action caused half the field to be seriously impacted, with several athletes falling on the track. If there have been no outside involvement and it appears one or more athletes in the race caused a large number of competitors to be impacted or fall, would you have handled it differently? No, because first of all, when in doubt, our official inadvertently stepped on the track and caused it. And then secondly, if an athlete caused a big fall within the first, is it 50 or 100 yards? I can't even remember.
50.
We're gonna call it back. So no, I would not handle it any differently. B, there are 4 starters, including you as the head starter. One of the other, let me see if I had a rule for that. No, I didn't have a rule for that. But in cross country, it was cross country, the first 100, and that was rule 242.5. B, there are 4 starters, including you as the head starter. One of the other starters, after the start of the race, fires the gun for a false start. You and the other starters did not see a false start. There is no electronic equipment or the equipment failed. As always, if it's 4 starters and 3 did not see it and only 1 did, first of all, we're all gonna come together and calibrate and say, okay, just throw up a green card, just making it a mistake to us. We're gonna charge the track and everything. Is no penalty towards anybody because the majority rules. C, in 800 being run in alleys, a runner in the outside alley immediately breaks for lane 1 after the gun is fired. Well, I don't think we run in alleys in the 800 because even if we have more than 8 runners, we're gonna stagger them. Help me out, Feaster, and everything. Because I was looking that up. I was like,
it depends. It depends, Wanda, and it is the judgment of the referee as to whether you're gonna run in alleys or run in lanes.
okay,
It
so
depends.
and if it is an alley, yes, that outside runner can go over into lane 1 as long as there's no impeachment or anything like that towards the other runners. But you know, because I looked it up and there's like 800 runs in lanes based off of the rule, but they said longer than 800 uses waterfall based off of rule 214. Because I was really trying to find that one because I was like, But anywho, D, I didn't answer it yet, so we all gonna answer.
Question before you go. Isn't an 800, doesn't it have a break line after the first turn?
In alleys, it does. It is a break line.
In alleys?
It is a break line. Yes,
Yes.
it is.
In
It
alleys.
is a break line.
Okay,
when they run in,
so that would be a foul, wouldn't it?
It would have to be.
Okay, y'all help me out. Alleys is running
Where
in,
you put the lane, okay, if it's an 8-lane track, if the cone is all the way around the track to the break line in lane 4. If it's a 6-lane track, alleys the cones are all the way around the track out on the outside part of lane 3. And you got 2 zones. You got zone 1, zone 2. Zone 1.
Okay, I got you. But I'm like, if it's in alleys in zone 1, you're gonna have about 5, and then up the top you have 3, right?
Doesn't mean it. I think what the issue is, Wanda, what happens is if you put somebody in zone 2, okay, and they immediately break down into 1, then they're not running 800 meters.
Absolutely. I was thinking the first alley. That's what I was, I mean, the first zone. I was like, the first zone, yes, they can go over into lane 1. The 1 through 5 people can go over into lane 1, but the ones out there in this zone 2, no, they can't go into the break. Yeah, okay, see, that's what I was talking about. Okay, thank you.
So it is a foul?
Oh, yes, it's a foul of zone 2.
In the outside alley immediately breaks into lane 1 after the gun. Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yes. It would be that would be a alley or break line violation.
Yes.
Alley violation, really.
Yes.
You know, if you say break line, they weren't near the break line yet. The break line is when they go around the curve and come off the last turn. That's where the break line is.
Thank you. You see, hey, I was like, what? But just talking, I got you now. D, in a 10,000 run in alleys, 4 runners out of 6 runners in the outside alley immediately break for lane 1 after the gun is fired. No. Same thing with, Same thing with C. So no, they got to wait for the break line.
Yeah. And just to add to what you're saying, Wanda, what we do is whoever's on the break line, we usually look at the hip numbers assigned, and what you might do is, and what y'all have been doing of lately, is putting, you know, if you got 16 runners, you know, you might put runners 1 through 8 in the outside alley, and then the high numbers on the inside alley. And sometimes you switch it. So, you know, and it depends on what it is. 2/3, you know, you do 2/3 in 1 and 1/3 down. If you got 10 in the inside and 5 on the outside, or 10 on the outside and 5 on the inside, we count how many it is. So I know that if you got 10 on the inside and 5 on the outside, if when they get around to the break line, if I see 4 runners, somebody broke early.
Right, absolutely, correct.
Okay, I have a question. So as a starter, since we're still within the first 50 meters, would you automatically restart?
If someone fall down.
Would you restart it?
What, if they cut in?
If they cut in too early?
No, we let it go. We write it down. That would be no more than if somebody's running.
So you would just notify them at the end of the race that they DQ'd?
We notify the coach.
We notify the coach.
And let the coach notify the athlete.
Yeah, they still running everything.
Yeah, they run the race. I mean, you let them run. You don't pull them out of the race or nothing like that. But
that's
they run the race.
That's when Dexter umpires come and throw that flag up and write it up.
Yellow flag as well.
Yeah.
So they're DQ, right? Is that what y'all saying?
Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, they continue to run though.
Okay.
It's just that race don't count for them.
Yeah,
You know,
how come you don't stop the race to like take them out? Why do you?
That's violation.
That's a violation.
And then you don't want to disrupt everybody else.
Okay.
Right. That'll be no more than on a 4x1 when somebody run out of a lane. You don't stop. You just throw the flag up.
That makes sense.
Okay. See, Feast, I like working with you. I learned from you.
Wonderful. Good stuff. Thank you, everyone.
You taking those notes for us, right, Stacy? Because my hand hurting.
I have some stuff written down. I'm on about page number, how many? Well, question number 8. I think I have like 6 pages already.
I had 4, and I was like, my hand hurting.
Yeah.
You said you're recording it, Stacy, right?
We are recording it. So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's right. Look at me like, thank you. I forgot all about that.
Okay.
Why you
Number
inbox and tell
9.
me?
We have Brandon. It's covering the field events. What is this?
Now I might need some help with this one, so be prepared. All right. So it says, how would you rule on the following? When a long jumper's feet make contact with the sand, the hat he or she was wearing falls off. So for that one, 184.7, I wrote it down. So each valid trial or immediate oral protest nearest the break in the landing area made by any part of the body of the competitor or anything that was attached to the body at the time it made the mark at the right angle to the takeoff or the takeoff part extended. So from what I've seen before, or what I use, or what I would probably do is if the hat landed behind the feet, then we would measure from where the hat made the indentation at the sand. But if it landed in front of the feet, then it's inconsequential, so we probably wouldn't worry about it. But I was thinking like, so if the hat landed like outside of the pit while the feet were landing, does that count as a foul since part of their body technically was outside of the pit, or no?
That's a great question.
Because it seemed like there was a lot of area for technicalities and stuff, but it seems like if it landed outside if the hat landed outside while the feet were in, it could technically be deemed as a foul, but I don't know if that's left up to the discretion of the umpire or referee or the head official or what.
I'm going to ask.
Hey, Brandon.
Go ahead.
Brandon. Hey, this is Reggie.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. I was going to ask the Hazes or Mr. Young to speak on that.
Yeah, that's a professional right there.
Yeah.
No, if the hat lands on the outside, even while he's jumping, if his feet is in, the jump is good.
Okay.
Now even if he jumps and his hat comes off after his feet hits the sand, and if the hat is in the front, you're still marking where the feet is. So because the hat is really irrelevant, because you're basing the jump on the mark of where that first brush is in the sand anyway.
Right.
So even if he was jumping in his hand, his hat was as long as his feet would get inside the sand, the jump is good. It wouldn't matter, because the whole key is, if we had some questions about a person's hair hitting the sand when they jump, but by her head going back, we have to take it from where her hair hits the sand, not her feet, because that's the first initial contact. But as far as a hat rule, yeah, I mean, you're right. The jump would be good as far as where the feet hits. But if the hat is on the outside, the hat is just on the outside.
Okay.
You wouldn't have to worry.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
All right. So part B, a hammer's thrower's implement hits the ground on the first rotation, but the athlete continues and releases the implement. So that is not considered a foul, and that was for Rule 187.1B. It's not a foul because it happened during the first rotation, but if it was to happen outside or after the first rotation, then it should be considered a foul. And Part C, the high jump is in the area of the 400 start. Right when the athlete leaves the ground, the race is started, and the athlete clearly shows a reaction to the sound of the gun and knocks the bar off. That seemed like really technical. I couldn't find anything that was that technical. To me, it seems like it would be a judgment call, but according to the rules that I read, it seems like it would still be a foul because it's still in competition now. I could be wrong, so that was one I think I needed help on.
You're correct.
Okay. Thank you. So part D, a youth athlete throwing a 12-pound hammer at a college facility with a 220-foot fence, throws over the fence and hits a tree about 5 feet above the ground. The closest thing I think I could get to that was Rule 187.7A, measure from the nearest mark made. So it seems like if it hit the tree, you would measure to that tree where it made the mark in the tree and then measure from the tree to where the implement landed. Is that a fair assessment or no?
You will measure it when the implement lands, and you will measure from the circle to where the instrument lands.
Okay, so don't worry about it hitting the tree. It's just
No, you don't worry about it hitting the tree. It's just hit the tree.
okay.
As long as it's in the sector.
All right. That's all I have for that. That wasn't that bad.
On that question, what fence is they throwing it over? The fence behind them, or the fence that's out there where it's supposed to land and it goes? So if you're throwing it over the fence behind them, you go behind them and measure it?
No,
the
it
key
would
is the
be
sector. The key is the sector.
yeah. So it'll be basically at the end of like where the like how
The
like
sector.
when the sector when you make that triangle or pie shape, like the fence is that end part and they're throwing over that. That makes sense?
Not the fence behind them.
Well, the one thing we're thinking about this, it's a I think it's a 12-pound hammer, and so the sector lines may be marked at say 210 because they're really not expecting anyone to throw it that far. But this one little kid comes up and is just extremely strong, and he throws the 12-pound hammer beyond what's normally, because it's that one reason why I think it lists the college facilities, because the college throwers throw a heavier hammer, and so they're normally not going to throw it beyond the fence line because it's heavier. So, but because this little youth athlete has a lighter hammer, it's possible that they may throw it further than what your normal college sector line may be. And so that's what it sounds like in this example, is that there's an athlete who's thrown it beyond what normally we have roped off. And so that's why.
Now I was confused about the fence. I know it's a fence on like around the pod, but it's a fence that you inside. You know how you be in a fence is like this and you right there with the fence behind you.
There's a cage.
This is on in the landing area.
Okay, because I was like,
this is the fence in the landing area. Yeah, so
Right,
just imagine, if you're at UNC Charlotte and you go over to walk to where the hammer is, when you walking over as you cross the bridge, the hammer is over there, right where you cross the bridge at, out there in the landing area.
Okay, I'm thinking the fence behind you. I'm like,
no,
all
it's
right,
out in the landing area.
I'm back with you.
Thank you.
Yolanda, we look at it as when we rope off that area for spectators to walk around it. And if he throws it beyond it, we still have to mark it and hitting the trees.
I understand. I understood everything. I just didn't know what fence y'all talking about. I thought it was the fence that was behind us, but y'all talking about the fence where people be looking at it. I'm with you now.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna move on now to number 10.
Number 10 is combined events. You are the combined events coordinator for men's decathlon. The men's pole vault has been underway for nearly 2 hours before the athlete decided to enter the competition. The athlete requests a warm-up jump without the crossbar. How would you handle this? For me, I would allow the warm-up since the athlete has been sitting there for 2 hours. And the reason I will allow the warm-up because I don't want the athlete getting hurt by being immobile for a long period of time, waiting for the competition, even though they have the ability to walk around and stretch and do everything else, is different from them jumping or vaulting at a higher distance. So I would give the athlete one warm-up, one run-through without the bar and go back to the competition. If this was youth decathlon, would you handle it differently? No, I wouldn't, because by that time there would already be 3 bar passes. So I would probably go ahead and give them a warm up because that's a long time sitting around waiting to go into the competition with at pole vault.
Question, Calvin, is there a time limit on that warm up?
With this situation, because you don't have to give a warm up to combine event, I would give them just one run through.
Okay.
If it was open, they would have a time which is 2 to 3 minutes per athlete. Any questions? And one rule of thumb is always best to let the field referee know what you're doing, so you won't be on that limb by yourself.
Stacy, we can't hear you. Stacy, you got to unmute.
I'm sorry. I've copied and pasted my question here on the notes. And so it's a combined event, and it says you are the combined event coordinator for the heptathlon. The height for the high jump is set at 1.45 meters. Only one athlete clears that height. That athlete is the only one remaining. Request to raise the bar to 1.5 meters. And what would you do in an open competition? And I've used the rule 200.6, and that rule states that the increment increase in the high jump and pole vault in an open men and women track and field competition shall be a uniform throughout the competition at 3 centimeters and 10 centimeters.
At open, it's not, it has to be at least no less than 5 in open.
Huh? What?
Did everyone hear me?
I heard you.
Okay, so you said what,
Clyde? What rule is that?
Hold on a minute. I didn't write the rule down because I didn't have this question, but I'm familiar with the rule. In combined, it's the increment is set, but in open, it has to be at least 5. It can't be less than 5.
So you're saying you don't have to go to 10 centimeters that you normally would go in the pole vault if there's one left in the
What would you do in an open competition? And the rule says in an open competition, it has to be at least a minimum of 5. I think I read that. in the USATF rule book. I didn't quote the rule, but I think I remember reading that.
Yeah, it says, what would you do in an open competition? But we're talking in regards, well, I thought we were talking in regards to the combined events and the
Yeah,
help.
the combined has to be steady increments. If it's
That's what we got.
Yeah, that's what we're looking at. Yep.
Okay,
that's what we're looking
combined is 3, I think, isn't it?
It is.
3, yeah, 3 and 10.
3 and
centimeters.
10.
3 for the high jump, 10 for the pole vault.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Clyde, you're right. For the open, I think it's suggested that it's 5 for the high jump, 15 for the pole vault.
But the minimum amount that you can raise it is 5, I think, in the pole vault. I think it's the minimum. I think in open minimum 3. It's open minimum. The minimum is what I was looking at. I could be wrong.
Excuse me, Clyde. Yeah, the open minimum is 3 and
In
5.
high,
Yes. Yeah.
For the high.
Yeah, and 5 for the pole vault. But
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So to answer this, the athlete, since in the combined events, you're supposed to stay steady, you cannot raise that bar to their request. They have to be, if we're at 1.45 meters, the next height that they must jump is the 1.48.
They can still pass that height, can't they? Can they pass that height?
Yes, they can pass the height.
They can pass that height and move
Yeah.
up to the next 0.3 centimeters.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Okay, then B, what would you do for a youth competition? I copied the rule, and the youth rule I didn't put on here, but it's right above. That rule is 302.6.
302.6.
And it states for you, the increments for the pole vault and the high jump. Well, the pole vault is 5 centimeters, and for the high jump, it's 5 centimeters. So it's the same. I don't think that there's any different. You pole vault people, did I miss anything? Clyde, Paul, Calvin? Wouldn't it be the same for youth? It's consistent, has to stay consistent?
Yes, it has to stay consistent with the youth.
Okay, thank you, guys. Is there any additional questions on question number 11? Okay, let's get back to the screen and go to question number 12. It's on verticals as well. Clyde, this is your question.
Yeah, I would call that a foul. There's no provision in the rules for hands slipping, only if the athlete changes the position of his hand, puts one hand above his other. So I put foul, and the basis for the rule would be 183.5. There's nothing stated in the rules about hands slipping. I think that would be a normal case. You know, athletes in horizontals and other events, they slip, and that's just a normal part of the competition. So I would rule it as a foul. If he fouled, he asked for another jump, but no, I wouldn't grant him another jump based on that rule, 183.5, because there's no provision in the rules for slippage. I mean, his hand slipped. I mean, that's part of the competition.
Great. Thank you, Clyde. Next, number 13 is LDR, and we have Tyrone. Tyrone. Tyrone, are you on mute? You are on mute. Tyrone, can you hear us?
Now I'm off of mute. I got you.
Okay. Thank you.
You're in charge of the finish line for the 11, 12-year-old youth 3K cross-country race with 225 athletes. The meet is not going to have a fat or chip timing. How would you set up the finish? All right, I'm going to use rule 165.10. Set up the finish first. I'm gonna keep all the runners in order after the finish. If not needed, with other timing on recording, also I'm gonna use the traditional bib tiers. So keep the runners in line. After the finish, use the traditional bib tiers. What personnel would you want? What job would each one do? I'm gonna need a shoot director. The shoot director will supervise the finish shoot during the finish of the race, assign marshals, and make sure the shoot umpire, callers, checkers, and timers are in place when the runners finish the race. Use a finish judge. Stand outside the shoot on the finish line to determine the order in which competitors enter the shoot. Shoot umpires will supervise the competitors after they enter the shoot and see that all competitors that cross the finish line are in proper order. Callers will call the number of each competitor in his or her proper place in the shoot. Checkers will keep a record of the competitors in their order of finish as announced by the caller. And timers will record the times of the competitors who finish. And the marshals shall keep the competitive area free from all persons except officials, contestants, and other individuals authorized by the games committee. Now, and I left this one kind of blank because I was kind of stuck here. What changes might you make in rain or snow? I don't think there would be any changes except for, having, you gave it to us last year. What do you, the protectors and the folders where you can protect it with the plastic over it? So you can protect the results.
Oh, for the recorders?
Yeah, for the recorders.
Yeah.
Also making sure that the officials have rain gear on. And of course, if it's raining or snowing, you're not going to have the electronic timing system out there, I don't believe. Well, we're not using it anyway because we're not going to have fat or chip timing. So those are the only things I would really change, unless you thinking of something else. Because I've never dealt with the snow, and when we ran cross country in the state and it was raining and like a monsoon, we still had to do the same thing. So that's what I'm saying. I wouldn't change anything, really. Just those having protection just to cover the stats up and making sure our officials were covered.
Okay, I think Tyrone, that was on part of number 14B.
Oh, was that 14B?
Yeah, that was 14B on Garden of Rain.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I was looking at 13, like, what's he looking? What's he talking about? Rain and snow. I'm like,
13. Yeah, he skipped 13.
I skipped 13. All right, I answered 14. All right, let me go back to 13. Any questions about 14, or anybody want to input something on 14 before I go to 13?
So what you said with shoot directors and finish judge, shoot umpire, and callers, that was for 13?
That was for 14.
14.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
So what I just answered was 14.
Okay, well, I have one statement to make on 14B. It is rain or snow. I have not done any cross-country meets in the snow, but I think it was last year in 2000. Yeah, last year. The regional meets was at Winthrop University, and it was puddles. It rained the whole time of that regional meet down in, and it was for the NCAA cross country meet. And the only thing different was they brought in sand. They brought in tried to keep sand and put it in areas where there were low areas at the beginning of the race.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to make sure, I know it's talking about the finish, that was the only thing that we did different. Was that they had sand, but that it rained the entire time. It was mud, slopping wet mud everywhere. That was the worst I've ever seen. But they handled it very well. There wasn't any injuries that I know of as a result of the rain, but it was definitely a very rainy meet. So that was the only thing I could think of that may do if it's in a low area where it's going to be a lot of flooding where your finish is, then maybe bring in sand or something to try to offset some of those low areas.
Okay.
All right.
And Stacey, you had another one at the park, I think Frank List Park, that it rained the entire meet. And we didn't, it rained the entire meet. We didn't do anything differently.
Yeah.
What park you say, Calvin?
Frank List Park.
Okay.
Did y'all use electric time in there, or was it just hand time?
It was hand times. Well, excuse me. Frank List's probably was hand times, Calvin, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
At the regional meet, it was electrical. It was electronic timing. The one that had at Winthrop.
Did they have to cover it up or anything, or?
They did have that covered. Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Now I can officially answer number 13. You are in charge of the finish line at a road race whose runners are assigned bibs with chips. The finish area was set up as a corral after the start, and before any athletes have finished, there is an equipment failure. What steps would you take to get proper times and results? Again, I would use Rule 165 with the timing and 165.10 with the timing. We already established the making sure that we had our regular timers, the professional timers, and the backup timers, who would be the hand timers, making sure everybody was ready. And like I said, at the start, before the athletes have finished, once it started, just making sure that we communicated, and now we relayed to the backup timers, who would be the hand timers, making sure that we know that we're going to use the hand time. That would be my second, or have a second timing system set up as well. Check with the hand timers to see if they were ready and working, and had a second of timing systems. The official timers the official timers after the finish line, the actual person with the timing device, we would use, and also use a digital camera review to record and examine the finish. And then again, at the end of the race, keep the runners in their finish order, and that way to make sure that we got the proper times for those individuals were recorded for their bib numbers, to match up with the bib numbers, making sure that we had the bib numbers, and then we can go back and match the times up with those bib numbers. And that's all I have for that one.
Match up to bib numbers. Okay. Well, thank you, Tyrone. Next, we have Jesse, we have you up now for number 15. Let's see if Jesse on.
Jesse sleep.
Jesse's on the phone.
You gotta call him.
Let's see. Let me make sure he's not on. Jesse, I think you're on. Unmute audio. Jesse, can you hear us? All right, maybe we'll come back to Jesse for number 15. Let's move on to number 16, Clyde.
Okay, I had this exact situation in the master's event that I did a couple of years ago. I think the governing rule is 147.4, mixed competition, states that field events for men and women may be conducted simultaneously at one or more event sites. And what I did at the advice of the field ref, when it was discovered that we had both men and women, we started at the lowest height recorded for the entry height. And as we progressed through the heights, things worked out where, you know, the higher they went, of course, they actually, things worked out where they ruled themselves out, or they weeded themselves out. And we kept separate sheets for each age group and gender, so that when one person finished at the height where they went out, it was determined whether they were in, whether they won their competition. And of course, in masters, there's sometimes just one person in an age group and a gender group. So I think the governing rule is 147.4 for that one. That's how I handled it. Did everyone hear me?
Yes, thank you, Clyde.
Okay.
Was there any additional questions for number 16? Okay. Number 17, Brandon. We have you for the horizontals.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
But I turned off my Jesse. So can you roll down the
I sure can.
the question? All right. Says you are the head long jump official. How would you handle the following situations? The competitor runs outside the white lines marking the runway at any point before reaching the takeoff board. So according to Rule 185.6A, shall not be recorded to have failed if he or she runs outside of the lines at any point. So that is
What
not
rule
a
number
foul.
was that again?
185.6A. It's on page 101.
Okay.
So part B, the runway is not long enough for an indoor meet and the competitor needs to use part of the track. That is Rule 185.3. The length of the runway is unlimited. So they can use as much space as they need to get the proper approach for their takeoff. Part C, the competitor walks back through the landing area after having legally exited the landing area. That is Rule 185.6D. The distance shall be measured because it is not counted as a foul. So once they leave the area, it's counted as a legal jump. So they can't exit the pit, then come back into the pit to try and attempt to foul their mark. I believe that is all I have for that.
Yep.
All right. Am I right, Reggie? I know you on there. I know you the long jump professional.
No, you're right on all of those.
My man, thank you very much, sir.
Just something to add, on the unlimited runway, they have to make sure that they're watching the other, if they're running events going on, they have to be aware of the running events.
Copy that.
Thank you. Okay. Number 18, verticals.
You are the
Calvin.
head pole vault official. How would you handle the following situations? And your answers say what you would do if you learned of the situation before the event started, or only discovered it during the event. If I discover it before the event even started, I will contact the field referee and also the games committee and let them know that the standards are not suitable and they're not proper to use because of the first one says standards being used were high school standards and cannot go any higher, even though there are still athletes in the competition. This includes combined events as well. I wouldn't certify the venue because it's not meeting standards, especially when it's go only a certain height. It wouldn't be fair to allow athletes to jump on or use those standards if they're not proper. I would get with the field referee and the games committee to either have the event moved to another location, or if it's possible to bring new standards in to complete the event. But I wouldn't certify it until those two things happen. Either they bring standards in or we move to another location. That has done before. We have moved pole vault events to another location.
Where did that happen?
It happened during the Powerade games.
Yeah.
Oh.
Johnson C. Smith. We've
moved them from Smith over to
Charlotte.
USD Charlotte. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We've done that several times.
Right, because we couldn't certify that venue because it wasn't properly set up right. So we had to move it.
And CIAA championship 1 year as well.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because Smithport does not have, they do not own, or at least they haven't in the past, they don't own the pole vault mats and collars and all that stuff. So we've had different events. And when they've only brought them in when they posted like NCAA D2.
Right. And
or CIAA. I think they brought them in for that as well.
CIAA, they brought them in.
Yeah, 1 year. But yeah, one time before we hosted it over at UNC Charlotte.
Right, we just had the pole vault event over there.
Yeah.
Okay, B, in an open competition, you realize that the pegs that supported the crossbar are 75 millimeters in length, which is used in high school, and not the 55 millimeter length used in open competition. That has happened a lot, a few times. And again, talking with the field referee and games committee on what they want to do about that situation, we have continued the event. We didn't stop the event. We continued, but we let the coaches know what type of pegs were being used, and we didn't. We went on with the event, but I wouldn't stop the event.
Wouldn't that invalidate? Excuse me. Wouldn't that invalidate the results?
It didn't. It could, but that will be up to the games committee.
Okay.
And what we did do was we requested other pegs be brought in, and that will be your first thing, is try to bring other pegs in. That will be your first thing to do, is call around and see who got those type of pegs and bring those in. That will be the first thing that you would do. The second thing you will find out from the games, games committee on what you want to do about the situation. And then the third thing you will find out from the games committee on what you want to do about the situation. And then the fourth thing you will find out from the games committee on what you want to do about the situation. And then the fifth thing you will find out from the games committee on what you want to do about the situation. And then the sixth thing you will find out from the games committee on what you want to do about the situation. And then the seventh thing you will find out from the games committee on what you want to do about the situation. And then the eighth thing you will find out from the games committee on what you want to do about the situation. And then the ninth thing you will find out from the games committee on what you want to do about the situation. And then the 10th thing you will find out from the games committee on what you want to do about the situation. And then the 11th thing you will find out from the games committee on what you want to do about the situation. And then the 12th thing you will find out from the games committee on what you want to do about the situation. And then the 13th thing you will find out from the games committee on what you want to do about the situation. And then the 14th thing you will find out from the games com and it's up to the games committee to either say, go with the event or strike the event.
Question.
Yeah.
I know y'all are not required to do this, but you know, this is a question for you, Calvin, and you, Clyde, as well as you, Paul. How hard would it be? I know you ain't supposed to do it and you don't have to do it. How hard would it be if you was a pole vault guy and you had a set of 55-meter pegs in your bag and they had 75 and you want to switch them out, or you had a set of 75 and they were using 55, you need to go to 75. You know, is that not something y'all could order and just have in your bag?
Yeah.
It's a question.
Yeah. I actually had a set, but my bag got stolen at UNC Charlotte one year. But
Well, I was gonna say, you better not let nobody keep them. They have them in the first place.
But I did have a set of 55 and a set of 75.
Yeah, I ordered some pegs from Eric Morrell and I never got them. I ordered a different, high school and open competition pegs, and I never got them. So maybe I'll order them again. But I did try to resolve that by ordering some different pegs.
Well, I know it's not your responsibility, but it'd be a good thing to have, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Everything sports, Clyde, that's where I ordered mine from.
Everything track and field.
Everything track and field. That's how I had to order. Because you want to have those type of things with you because it do happen where you going to a venue with the wrong pegs.
Yeah, I'll make note of that. I'll order some more.
Any other questions?
Thank you. All right, Tony, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, do you want to go cover number 7
do 19. I'll do 19 and I'll go back to 7.
Okay.
All right, so throws. Question is, you are the head official at a circle that is recessed. No provision had been made for drainage during construction. The circle is full of water. So one of the things definitely would not certify the event, especially for the safety of the athletes. Based on Rule 187.18, of course, the interior of the circle may be constructed of concrete, but the key area is the surface of the interior shall be level and 2 centimeters lower than the upper edge of the rim of the circle. So basically, it has to be level. And so based on this statement of being recessed, there would be a concern that the construction is not suitable for the event. And so my conversation, of course, would be with the head field referee and then with the games committee to find a more suitable venue or location for the event. Any questions on that one?
No.
All right.
Thank you.
Of course, we've had that issue before at some high school meets, but of course it wasn't USATF, but definitely it was dangerous situations.
Did y'all move it to another event, or did y'all not just didn't do that?
We actually didn't have it. We actually because they asked me to be the official as a coach, and so I told them I'm not going to do it, unless they can find somewhere else to do it or just to cancel the event. So we've done that in high jump before too as well. But I know I'm not putting my name on it. It's going to cause danger for the athletes.
Thank you. All right, go back.
All right. And so back to question 7. Now this one, of course, got to kind of read through the definitions a little bit. So you are the head official in an open field event. Athlete is not present when his or her attempt would normally occur. And so basically looking at the rule, except is provided in subparagraphs B and C, which we'll touch base on that in a minute. If a competitor misses a turn in a field event for any reason, meaning arriving late, unexcused absence, etc., that competitor shall not be permitted to have practice trials using the competition area or take the trial or trials so missed, but may be permitted to take his or her remaining trials if he or she was entered in the event before it began. So if they entered the event before it began, in their trials, and they have at least one remaining trial, then I would allow them to have that trial. But based on B and C, high jump and pole vault, the chief field judge of the event shall permit a tardy declared contestant to start at the height of the bar at the time of his or her arrival. When there is no formal declaration procedure, anyone entered shall be accepted. The bar shall not be lowered to permit an athlete to make up jumps at earlier heights. So based on that, that rule, they would be allowed to participate based on their arrival, based on that particular rule with the chief field judge, and then if there's no formal declaration procedure.
And Tony, what rule is that?
This would be B under Rule 180. And that would be, I know I wrote that down. Did I not write down the number? I think it was around 15. Was it 180, 15, something like that? I'll get it for you a second. Hold on. Thought I wrote that one down. I know it's B for the pole vault high jump. That would be, give me a second. Paul and that would be 180, and that would be under Rule 180. I think that's 10, 180, 10. Yeah.
10?
Yeah, 10, 180, 10.
180 10B. Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's
and then
the
next portion would be if a competitor, of course, is entered in both track and field event or in more than one field event taking place simultaneously, the appropriate referee or chief judge may, for one of trials at a time, for one round of trials at a time, or for each trial in high jump and pole vault, allow the competitor to take a trial out of the regular order. If the athlete subsequently is not present for any trial, it shall be deemed that the athlete is passing once the period allowed for the trial has elapsed.
Are you on question 7?
Yeah, I'm at 7 now.
Went back to it because he didn't do it first.
Do you have an A, B, and C on question 7? I only have an A and a B.
I got an A and a B, but I'm giving you all of A.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
I got
A is long. So it was easier to kind of read the rules for A because it has so many different components to it.
Okay.
So where am I at now? All right, so the next part, which is B, would you handle it differently if it were a master's or youth event? And part of the answer would be, of course, yes. And if you go to Rule 302.5Q,
okay,
you'll see when a horizontal jumps or throws competitor is excused to participate in a running event, no time shall be imposed on the excused competitors, except that the competitor must return before the conclusion of all other preliminary attempts, if excused during the preliminaries, or before the conclusion of all other final attempts, if excused during the finals. Failure to return with the allocated period shall result in forfeiture of missed attempts.
I remember doing something that applied to this directly where if an athlete has qualified for the finals, but is absent until the finals start, he or she is eligible up until the first competitor starts in the finals, if they've qualified previously in the preliminaries, but they were absent the whole time.
So, yeah, so if they're, and you're saying if the finals is started, but they qualified for the finals?
If it's already started, no. If they arrive before the finals start, as long as they have qualified in any part of the preliminaries, but were gone for the rest of the preliminaries, they still qualify for the finals. If their mark qualifies them for the finals, they're still allowed to compete if the finals hasn't started.
Yeah, as long as it was excused during the preliminaries or before the conclusion of all final attempts.
Yeah.
Now, one of the other parts is in both the preliminaries and the finals, the head event may allow attempts to be taken. Of course, we can allow them to take succession attempts before a competitor is excused. So, so of course, with this ruling, there would be some differences there. Now, when we go to, did I give masters? I've already done masters. So the next part would be masters. And the only area would be really around vertical jumps, which would be different. And that's where a competitor who has not taken an initial trial in at least 1 hour from the trial of the competition shall be allowed under the direction of the event official to use the runway and landing areas without the crossbar to warm up with one attempt within 1 minute. Such warm-up shall occur at the change of the bar to the height of the competitor enters the competition. And that would be for masters.
Okay.
And what rule was that one, Tony?
I knew you was gonna ask. I think that's under 1A. Is that one? Why you asked me that one? I got it. Hold on.
Okay, so
that is.
Get 1 minute.
Give me 1 second here. I thought I wrote that thing down.
Well,
if you want to start the other one, I'll give it to you. I'll put it in the chat.
Put it in the chat. That'd be great.
Yeah, y'all go ahead and get started. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay. I know we're running. We got like 9 minutes left before 9:30, and we have 6 questions left. Do you want to try to finish it up, or is, I guess we'll keep going, and if
they shut us off,
we will.
You good? You good?
We're good. Okay.
You should be able to go.
Okay. Is everybody fine to keep going a little bit?
Yeah, let's finish.
Okay.
I'm for it.
All right. So number 20. This one was with Freddie, and Freddie provided me an email. Oh, first let me hit the share. He emailed me some information on his question. Freddie, are you still with us?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You want to go over the information that you emailed to me?
Yes, ma'am. First of all, thank you.
Everybody see it?
Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you, Freddie.
Thank y'all for letting me be a part of this great association that y'all have.
Yeah, Freddie.
Okay, now the takeoff board primarily used so that the official can see where the athlete has hit the board and gone into the pit. Now they can jump behind the board, but if they jump in front of the board, it's a violation. Now, for the youth, rule 302.5D, in a long jump, more than one takeoff board may be used between 1 and 4.5 meters behind the landing area. This is the long jump. In the triple jump, more than one takeoff board may be used between 7 and 13 meters from the landing area. Suggestion, since we got age groups, 15 to 16, 17, 18 boys, 10 meters, 15, 16, 17, 18 girls, 8 meters, 13 to 14 meters, boys and girls at 7. More than one takeoff board may be used with an indicator such as orange cone placed at both sides of the takeoff board. Each jumper must declare, if it's a triple jump, they must declare which board they're going to jump on before they start. They cannot change once they have used it. Rule 332.3, master athlete in the long and triple jump, more than one takeoff board may be used, even within a single age group. The takeoff board may be constructed of material other than wood. Each jumper shall declare, this is the most important thing, they have to declare prior to each jump which board he or she will use. And that's that.
Thank you so much, Freddie.
Thank y'all.
And all right, let me go back to the questions. Number 21 is EDM, and we have Cynthia.
Hello.
Thanks, Cynthia.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Yes, how you doing?
There you
Hello,
are.
everybody. Okay, so the number 21, how would you handle the following situation? EDM stopped working during the 2nd or 3 rounds of a field event. So basically what I would do is let the field referee know and let them know about the downfall and wait for a decision how they want to handle the situation. That would be the first thing that I would do. Then I would let everybody that's working on the crew, let them know about what's going on. And then I would let I would, first of all, I would try to make sure that I had a backup plan. And in case something like that happened, that, wouldn't hold up the entire flight for what's going on, but try to have things in order so that we could continue with the competition. Number B, a coach goes to the head official of an event in question an EDM measurement of the mark their athlete made. Recalibration shows a different result that was announced. Again, I would go to the field referee and let them know about the decision. I would also encourage the field referee to talk to the coach so it wouldn't be a lot of discrepancy going on. And I tried to look up a lot of this information. I looked at Rule 135 and Rule 159, but I wasn't sure if that was really answering the question about how to handle those situations. So I'm here for advice, to hear from anyone.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Hey, this is Reggie. I run into those issues quite a bit with the long jump, especially with coaches. Usually what we do, we always have a meeting prior to each event, especially in the long and triple jump. We inform the coaches of what the officials here to do. First and foremost, we always tell them that the officials are not here to cheat athletes at all. We are here for each and every athlete that's here participating. So oftentimes you will have coaches that'll say, it is not the distance that this person has jumped or whatever the case may be, or that is not a foul, when that person is on the board. We don't get caught up in any of that. Whatever, if that flag comes up saying the jump is good, the jump is good. If it's a foul, it's a foul. We don't measure it. Even if it's a foul, we do not measure those jumps. So most of that, you just have to communicate quite well with the coaches to let them know what your role is as an official. And once you do that, they will know that you are in charge of that event. And they can't question, and they can question all day, but your integrity is key when you're talking about track and field. So as long as you're making the right call, each official is going to support you. Even if a mistake was made, oftentimes as officials, we don't focus on that mistake. We just keep going, and then we have our own discussion at the end of each and every meet. And that way we talk about what we've done right the next time we all work together. So that's pretty much how you handle a lot of those situations, especially with coaches, because you're not going to be able to appease any coach in track and field, because all the coaches focus on winning. And so they kind of use us as a crutch at times to try to get an edge. But you, as long as you stick your ground, you're fine.
Thank you.
Did I miss out anything on that, fellas, ladies, and gentlemen?
Yeah,
One.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say I worked. I did EDM Junior Olympics a few years ago at A&T, and we were told immediately, at the beginning of the event, we do not talk or argue with coaches. If they have a issue, they can go to the referee or umpire.
You're exactly right. And that takes you out. That takes you, as an official, out of the equation oftentimes, because the coaches are primarily just looking after their athlete. They will talk to you at the conclusion of it, but most times we get our instructions right from the start. And your head official, your head long jump official, is the person that can talk to any and every coach, and that takes you out the problem.
Exactly. Okay. Any questions? Okay, I'll go on with number 22. You're the head clerk or course or call room official. What are the uniform requirements for a relay on the track? Open, masters, or youth? According to Rule 302.3, the open and the youth, they must all have on the same uniforms. They must be properly dressed. And then the masters, they are different. They don't have to, according to Rule 330.5, they can just check in as a team, but their uniforms can be different.
I'm sorry, can you give me that rule for the first?
The rule is 302.3.
And that was for the open. Okay.
For the open and the youth.
Open and youth, so A and C.
Yes.
And that's 302.3.
Yes.
Same uniforms. Gotcha. Masters can be different. Gotcha. Thank you.
Did you say A and B or A and C? Stacey.
A and C.
A and C
are the same.
For
I just
open
want to make
and
sure. I
youth.
thought you said B. I was just making sure.
Open and youth. Masters uniforms can be different. Okay. Thank you.
Move it up a little bit, Stacey, so I can see the whole thing. All right.
23.
You are 23, right? You are at a meet where cones are being used. Describe how you would use them in the following situations. First, A is going to be when there is a brake line. Usually the brake line is green. And here's one thing that I didn't know until about 4 or 5 years ago. But the cones are supposed to be 15 centimeters or less, placed on the lane lines just before the intersection of the brake line and the lanes. Which means a lot of times people put them right on the brake line. It's supposed to be just before. Okay? And I don't think you have to worry about the distance, because the distance of the lanes makes the distance. You're doing each, you got a cone there on the center line, okay? If it's in like a 400 relay on the indoor track or 200-meter track, you do each lane, okay? Where the runner runs 2 turn stag and then breaks, okay? And alleys, from the time they put them in 2 different zones, zone 1, zone 2, and you start from where zone 2 is, and you do about 3 meters apart. I usually walk it off because my one stride is about 3 feet. That's about a yard. A meter's a little longer than a yard. It depends on how many cones you got. I usually do anywhere from 8 to 10 steps. As long as you got enough cones so that there's not a bigger break in there, so somebody can think, okay, I don't see no more cones, I can move to the inside. And usually the starters help with that. They put them in Alice 1 and Alice 2, and they show them where the brake line is, they show them the brake line person, and we wave a flag, and they tell the people that's in zone 2 or the alley 2 to stay on that side of the cones till you pass the guy at the brake line. And when curbing needs to be replaced in either indoor or outdoor, we use cones there so that people don't run on the inside of the track. And the reason for that is if you're running inside the line where the curbing is, then you're not running the distance as everybody else.
It's a foul also.
Right. That's the whole idea. And the steeplechase, what I said earlier, is that what you have to do is you put cones there because the first time around they don't go through the waterfall. So you have the curbing's got to be already moved. So you use cones at the entrance and the exit of the waterfall. When they go past you the first lap, then you move the cones and you have an official stand there with a flag, directing them which way to go. So they got to go over the water, over the barrier and through the water jump. And they come out on the other end. Questions?
Thank you so much. We have Tanya that's going to go over number 24 and 25.
Okay, 24 verticals. What are the rules regarding the use of check marks for outdoor track? What are the requirements for using check marks for the open high jump and pole vault? How is the youth rule different? Okay, I'm looking at rule number 180, 23A through C. Okay, A, no mark shall be placed on the runway, but a competitor may place 1 or 2 markers supplied or approved by the Games Committee alongside the runway to assist in the the run-ups or takeoff. If such marks are not supplied, a competitor may use adhesive tape, but not chalk or similar substance or anything that leaves indelible marks for the high jump markers may be placed in the runway apron. B, each marker shall be a single piece only. Okay, C, for the pole vault, the Games Committee shall place suitable and safe distance markers between the runway at each 50 centimeters between 2.5 meters to 5 meters from the zero line and at each 1.0 meter from the 5 meters to the 15-meter point. And then for youth athletics exception, see Rule 302.5J. Rule 302.5J says in the high jump and pole vault, an athlete may be assisted, I'm talking about the youth, in establishing the location of marker prior to the start of the competition. Rule 181.3 will apply except that no more than 3 marks may be used, and such markers cannot exceed 3 inches in length. And that would be 24 verticals. Any questions before I go to 25 throws, or any comments or any input? Okay, 25, we're talking about throws. You are the head official for hammer or the weight throws. An athlete shows up with a pair of work gloves with 4 fingers wearing a weight belt and his or her wrist is taped. How would you handle this situation? Would you handle this differently? Doing warm-ups? Okay, and I got that from Rule 187. Okay, 187. It says that throws are not allowed to use any modification viewed as assistance, and gloves are viewed as assistance. But Rule 187 states that the following shall be considered assistance and are therefore allowed. The use by an athlete in order to obtain a better grip of a suitable substance on his hands only in the case of a hammer thrower or a weight thrower on his or her glove. So I guess with the hammer and weight thrower, they can use gloves to help them for better grip. And then for how to handle this different doing warm-ups, I guess they have it on doing warm-ups. I didn't know how to answer that one. I can use some assistance.
Tanya, yes, for the hammer, they do have special hammer gloves that I've seen them use before for the hammer and throws, and they can put that powder substance on those as well.
But they can't be full fingered.
No, they're
No.
not. Their fingers are out, and they look like they're special type gloves. They can't use work gloves. They can't use work gloves with full fingers. They're like stiff looking gloves, and they have the fingers are out. So no, you cannot use full finger gloves.
Yeah.
Stacy,
Yes.
if you needed a reference on the break line now, rule is for the NCAA is 1-110, 1-1-10, and the USATF rule is 168C and 160-9 for the USATF. And on your alleys, okay, the rule is 160-8C as well. Somebody need a reference about the
8C.
Yeah.
And that's on number 23.
Yeah.
Okay, so for number 23, we have for the break line rule, which would be 23A.
Yeah.
That is number 23A, 160.8C.
Right.
And 160.9.
Right.
And then for 23B, that is for the alleys, is 160.8C. Okay. Thank you for that information. Okay, warm-ups or competition. Okay. Does anybody have any additional questions? I think this information was I appreciate everybody being here. Once again, I thank Tony for allowing us to use his Zoom. And I appreciate everybody in here. I think it was a great discussion. It was great opportunity for us to hear each other, see each other's voice. And it's been a while. So I really appreciate all the participation we've had.
Stacy.
Yes.
Now, when we do it, you said like for the national or the masters, we don't have to answer all the questions, or can you explain that a little bit?
Sure. For the national, those that's on the national level, you have to answer 3 questions. So you can choose whichever 3 you want and submit those answers. Well, I'm sorry, at least for those of us in North Carolina, we can choose whichever ones. If you're in a different state, I'm not sure if your chair has said that there's something different, but for those of us in North Carolina, a national, you can choose any 3 questions and provide the answers. If you're a master level official, you have to answer 5 questions. So you can select whichever 5 questions you want.
Stacy, how would I go about switching over from South Carolina to North Carolina?
Let me ask, because that has changed often. It's changed over the years. So,
okay.
Tyra, how long have you been you've been in North Carolina for several years?
For 2 years.
2 years? Were you were you in like Fort Mills, Rock Hill area?
No. No, Concord.
But you're in Concord now.
Yeah. No, I was in Beaufort.
Oh, okay. Well, if you were, okay, since you now live in North Carolina, you would just need to, I think you would just need to send your paperwork to North Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, there are some officials that actually live in another state that are a member of North Carolina Association. And that's what that's where it gets a little fuzzier. But yes, since you live here in Concord, you're a resident of North Carolina, then it shouldn't be an issue with you. You just
I
need
think
to.
for that you gotta change it online, and then I know you're supposed to let LB know, because I had a situation like that. I used to live in Fort Mill, Stacy.
Yeah,
And
you
then, like,
did.
once I moved to North Carolina, I know I had to change it online, and then let LB know, because he had to do some behind the scenes stuff, because it was nonsense. But he wound up taking care of all of that. So I know LB is in the equation somewhere.
Okay, so update my residence and all of that stuff online.
Yeah,
then-
and then let LB know, because he's still the head official for North Carolina, right? Or director or something.
Yes.
Yes, as of now, yes.
And Stacy, don't forget about the clinic for next week.
Yes, LB has sent out an email. I think like yesterday, was it, Bridget?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, and there is going to be a officials clinic, I believe at 2:00 next Sunday.
Correct.
And Roger, LB, and Doug Sparky out of Asheville will be running that clinic.
Sparky.
Do we have to go to that, or is that optional, or
That's
online?
Online, okay.
It's
online.
It's going to be online. It's a Zoom virtual meeting. It will be a virtual meeting.
Stacy, you still have that, right?
I'm sorry?
You might want to email it for those who didn't get it.
Yes, did everybody get it? Did everybody get emails from LB?
No, I don't get any.
I don't.
I get them.
Okay. I will forward that to the group of people that forward the email for the clinic next week.
And if one more thing, Stacy, let everybody know if they haven't updated their USATF Connect recertification, they need to go ahead and update it before we have our meeting.
Yeah, I didn't get anything from LB either. So.
Okay. Okay, the meeting next week at 2:00, but it's next Sunday at 2:00 p.m. And
Okay.
I will send you the email that we got yesterday, which pretty much told us that. And once we get the information on how to sign in, I'll make sure to forward that along as well. Thank you. This was the national. I will reach out and figure out what tests we're going to do next. I know we still have 4, really have 5 tests left. We have increments left. I've already taken that one. I've already submitted that one. So, but we have increments. Those that do referee, we have that one. I've already submitted that one as well. I'm still working on the long distance as well as the race walk. And Paralympics should be ready sometime next week. That test is not available yet. Oh, one other thing, I just did get a text from somebody that Jesse is ready to answer his question. I almost forgot. Jesse, are you with me? Are you with us?
He was on the telephone, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's on the phone. Let me see. My watch is buzzing. My phone is buzzing. Well, I remember one of them said, Jesse is ready. Jesse?
He need to unmute.
Yeah, he's muted, Stacy.
Okay, let me go out here and.
He can unmute it himself. Just tell him to unmute it. He could do it himself.
But he's on, I'll probably have to unmute him because he's not on virtual.
Yeah.
He's just on the phone. Okay, Jesse, can you hear me?
Stacey, you sent me to unmute myself. You just sent me it twice.
Well, it's I can't just unmute Jesse. I'm trying to.
Jesse might have had his phone muted himself.
Well, we might not be.
Hey, Stacy, I got Jesse on my telephone. Hold on.
Okay. All right, Jesse. Well, Jesse, can you hear us? Wanda's on mute.
Yeah, I put it on mute because it's static.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I can hear you through Jesse's phone, but we can't hear Jesse.
What's Jesse? Is he a?
Stacy, I think he either have to press *9 or *6 to unmute himself on his phone.
Jesse, can you press what you need to press?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, go ahead and talk before you get something else happen.
Watch out. Well, they're talking about a meet starting, a national televised meet starting at 1 o'clock. If somebody can't make that time, what will we do? If they do not report to the call room or they are late arriving to the call room, they are excluded from participation. And the second one is if someone, right before they start, what would they do if they had cramps? I would get a trainer to look at them because they usually bring them up to the starting line at least 3 minutes before the start time. Once the trainer looks at them, if they're not able to run, then I would go ahead with the race at the original start time at 1 o'clock. Anybody object to that? Hello?
We hear you. I hear you. I know we hear you.
We hear you, Jesse.
We hear you, Jesse.
You good?
Did you hear what I said?
We heard what you said.
Yeah, I hear what you said.
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
We agree. We agree.
We agree. It sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah, if they're not able to run, then they don't make the call room, then hey, they're excluded.
Okay. Great. So, and have the trainer to look on part B, you said have the trainer to look at the athlete.
Yeah, I have the trainer because they usually they bring them to the starting line 3 minutes before the start of the race. If they're experiencing cramps, then I would call the trainer, have them look at them. If they're not able to run, then Scratch them and let's start the race at 1 o'clock. Unless there's a timing page or something like that,
Yeah.
We have to go to a commercial to pay the bills.
Well, that is true. It's on TV.
Yeah. But
Okay.
other than that, we start the race on time.
Thank you.
Is that all right with everybody?
Jesse? Okay. One other thing, Bridget reminded us, everybody, your safe sport. You got to make sure your safe sport and background check are up to date too. And your current before you go online to take your tests. To take your test. And if anybody has any questions or with their test or whatever, you can always reach out to me. I would try to schedule some more Zooms to go over the remaining tests. I know several of you missed the basic tests last Thursday, and I will try to schedule another session to go over the basic tests. At this time, does anybody have any questions or feedback for me? Okay. Well, everyone, I hope you have a wonderful Sunday night. I think it's still Sunday. And
Appreciate you.
Thank you, Stacy.
You're welcome.
And Tony.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Stacy.
Tony, both for the work y'all put into this.
Thank you, Stacy. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Stacy.
Yep, thank you too, Tony.
And Tony.
And Jesse for finally getting on.
Give us the 15. Yeah, but
He went to
everyone
sleep.
have a good night. And we
All right.
Bye
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
That's Don McCray.